All right, kicking things off on Wednesday morning. Nice 70 degrees, sunny, wearing pants and a t-shirt, ready for this ride on the Greenway. I don't know, I don't want to say I've run out of things to say, but I'm gonna go into repeat mode now. Which I guess doesn't really matter because most people haven't watched any of this, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But let's see. Corey Johnson's looking pretty sharp. He's got this safe streets plan, sort of master safe streets plan, master streets plan that sort of accommodates many different aspects of initiatives all in one big plan that build protected, separated or concrete protected bike lanes, bike paths, amongst many other things. So I mean, I already support him as the next mayor. I already donated some money when he announced. Which I think I had like an 8-to-1 like matching rate from the city, something like that. Like if for every dollar you donate to a mayor campaign, the city will match it like 6 or 8-to-1, something like that. Oh man, this hill. God, this stuff's gonna be way less hard when you really do have to be in some physical shape to handle like this hill. Like this hill just goes straight up. I'm going pretty slow here. I'm on the lowest gear or the highest gear. Can't tell. Don't really know my gears, but I'm on the one that's the easiest. Oh god, there's a loud truck behind me. Oh, that's just a loud van. Oh no, there's a truck. There's another truck. Look at this thing. Look at this thing turning, just still moving, while these kids are crossing. That is how, I mean, it's video of trucks killing people that way because these are these long flatbeds that have massive turn radius and they'll knock you out, right? So even if you clear the cab in the front, you still get schmeiced by the like last 50 feet of these things because they turn and they basically cut into your you know, where you're standing, where you're walking, where you're biking. And yeah, I've seen video that is horrific. So allowing these things to have just a normal green light where they can make a right while there's a walk signal for children makes no sense. It's such an insane system that we've concocted. Just want to point out they have paved that one block that I just rode on, so that's nice. This is all still messed up, but it looks like they got the trucks out here across the street. The blacktop will be going up pretty soon. Seriously, like this kind of a system where you're like, you have a green light and also there's a walk signal, so we are just 100% dependent on drivers paying close attention and yielding to pedestrians who clearly have the right of way. I've said this so many times, but it's such the failure to yield idea is just so ridiculous, because in order to like assert yourself in a crosswalk, you literally have to put your body in the way of a moving vehicle. And then it's like, if you're dead, it doesn't matter that the driver didn't yield. Like, it doesn't matter to you, you're dead or you're severely injured you're gonna be totally effed up. And this is one of these things that like is not allowed. Like you don't see this in most of Europe, where you have just scenarios where two different groups are sort of like allowed to go and conflict with each other at the same time. These kinds of situations like are rooted out, identified, and systematically removed through street design and through like you know, walk signal, dedicated walk signals, dedicated traffic signals that clearly give one group the right of way while the other waits. That's it. That's how you do it safely. Here in New York and most of America, we're just like, it's a free-for-all. Share the road. Everybody share the road. And meanwhile, like, how the hell does this person share the road with, you know, on a 12-pound bike with a 2,000-pound vehicle encased, you know, in a sound system and blind spots with like screens, giant. I don't know if you've seen the inside of a Tesla, but it's like ridiculous how you don't. It's just like, it's like an IMAX theater with a small steering wheel, you know? It's like, oh, you can also drive your car while you're watching this movie. It's a crazy system that obviously like drivers love it, and it makes sense because you're like, wow, this is the dopest car I've ever driven. Jason Calacanis talks about that also, about how it's literally the greatest, you know, vehicle ever invented. I believe that. Like, never been in one, I've never driven one. Here you got three vehicles on the bike lane on the other side here. But really, like, what it boils down to is it's just convenient and fun for drivers, but does not increase any safety for the humans outside of your vehicle. And so now you see all these people sleeping in their Teslas while they're on the highway, shit like that. Oh man, what's going on here? The road is closed. I'm assuming it's not closed to cyclists, but kind of like, I don't know, like road closed. Well, okay. It's obviously not going to be close to me after that, since it's not close to this Verizon truck and all these cars that are parked, and these uno, dos, tres, cuatro on the left, cinco, seis on the right, and this cement truck that I'm gonna give a B- to 21534 MG. And they get a couple of demerits. I wouldn't go in between that car, you know, into the bike lane there, because God help you if they door you. Those doors are like at where your head is, and then you're really messed up. So you really have to be careful there. So creating like incredibly tight gutters for cyclists to like weave through is not safety. Like that's garbage. It's nonsense. It just makes drivers feel better, and it allows the DOT to sort of like check off boxes that say, oh, there is a bike lane here, so we did 100 miles of bike lane. But there's no standards. They're not really applying any. I mean, there are standards, but they're like such ridiculously low, cruddy standards that no actual cyclist, no commuting cyclist, nobody who rides a bike would ever agree to these kind of standards. NYPD traffic, what's going on here? Hey, you're just like on the phone here? I don't know. I have a green light. I don't know, the guy's just sort of leaning back and looking at his phone. So I'm guessing that he's not in ticket land, ticket writing mode. These guys speeding so they could hit this traffic right here. Yeah, I'm passing you. You're on a phone. This guy passing, then he's hitting that guy. 5A43. of like being a passenger in a taxi or an Uber that's doing something dangerous, right? So picture yourself, you're like a bike advocate or whatever, or you're just like, I have a child in my arms, or you know, in the back seat. I set up my car seat. I'm very involved. I want this ride to be safe. And you get into an Uber, and the Uber driver is, let's say, you know, run through the list, on the phone, talking, right, yapping the whole time. He or she is, you know, speeding at the green lights, speeding through green lights, stopping short at red lights, inching through intersections. Maybe they picked you up and they parked in the bike lane to pick you up. Maybe they're pulling up to a bike lane to drop you off. What are you supposed to say? And this is where I'm not comfortable with conflict. It's a personal issue, right? This is something I just personally, it's hard for me, and I know that I should get over this, but it's hard for me to like call out a driver. That's why, I mean, I almost never take cabs, but when, you know, in the times that I do, like, I don't want to say, hey man, just shut off your music. It seems like a personal attack on the sort of the waiter, you know, in the same way you're like, you might tell the cook, you know, I don't like this food, it's you know, bring it back, it's terrible, remake it, and then they spit in your food, you know, like that. You don't want to piss off the person who literally has the keys to the car, you know. You don't want to piss off the cook or the chef, and so, at least for me personally, like saying, hey, don't block the bike lane, or don't do this, I don't know. I have done that, but I don't know, it's a personal thing, and I don't feel comfortable because it's like directly confronting a person. And done that on the bike, but when you're paying, in a lot of ways, like, you're more entitled to do that. You are 100% entitled to say, go over there, get off your phone, turn off the radio, do not go through the intersection while there's a red light and there's people here, stop speeding. I mean, we've done that a bunch of times. We're like, do not go over 25 miles an hour this entire ride, you know. And like, that usually goes over fine if you sort of preface the trip that way. You're like, look, I have a child. I mean, often it's because we have a child in the car. But I mean, it's a tough, I go back and forth on that. I try to just, I mean, the simplest thing is just to avoid this stuff. And so we just never take rides. Not because of that, but mainly because they're very expensive and we just hate cars. But I don't like that I have to give you a rating after the fact. You know, I wish I could, maybe that would be nice. Like, if I could just say, these are the things that I prefer to see. Because other people will demand things, right? And I get that drivers have to thread this, you know, thread a needle through like the varying, complicated, often, you know, varying requests and demands that passengers, aka customers, aka the people with the money, demand of them. I demand you pick me up on this corner right now. What are you doing? Why are you over there? Why are you on that other block? Oh, well, sir, ma'am, you know, it's because there's a bike lane, or because I'm not allowed to park there. Like, there's, you know, there's some construction, whatever. Well, I don't care. Like, I'm not walking across the street. So I get that. And at the same time, I'm like, do not ride, do not go in the bike lane here. Go across the street. You know, how dare you go more than 25 miles an hour, you know? But sir, like, I'm trying to get you to your destination a little faster, and you'll probably give me a 3-star rating, which my livelihood depends on. You know, if I get you there 2 minutes later than normal, like you said, fast, like you're trying to make a train. All those are like, you know, there's probably a million reasons why drivers have to do various things. So I get it. I sympathize. I understand that. I think it all boils down to like the companies taking ownership of that and getting penalized. So they have to be accountable, not the drivers. I mean, yes, the drivers, but the app should account for that. Have you never pick up in the bike lane, identify when you are, steer you out, educate all the customers. Anybody using the app as a Uber rider should say, hey, these are off limits. These areas are off limits. Why? Because 21 cyclists have been killed this year. That's why. Because 1,000 or multiple thousands of injuries have taken place on the streets from cars parking in bike lanes and doing dangerous maneuvers to accommodate the requests of passengers like you. And so we're in this together because Uber, we care about money, but we also care about the safety of our passengers and the safety of our drivers and the safety of pedestrians and cyclists with whom we share the streets. And we are, you know, we have corporate responsibility. You know, any message like that would be really valuable. I think I sort of said that as much when Lyft came out a few months, maybe 6 months ago, with sort of a reminder, an in-app reminder when you are getting out of your ride to look out for cyclists when you open the door. And I thought, okay, that's good. I mean, that's great. What would be great is if you took it a couple of steps further, like never allowed the drivers to park in bike lanes, identified when that happened, demerit them when they do it, you know, or give them extra tips if they don't, however you want to conform it, and educate passengers about this every single time they ride. Now, frankly, maybe they're doing this. I don't really know, because I don't use Lyft or Uber. Like, I literally never, I mean, I haven't been using the app in many months. I mean, I literally have not opened the app, so I don't really know. Perhaps Lyft has better interactions at the end of a ride or the beginning of a ride. Maybe they're factoring this in. So I don't want to say they're not, because I really don't know. But those are great. Those would be great kind of educational tools to bring their, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of customers in New York in line with what the city's goals are, which is Vision Zero and reducing these fatalities and injuries due to traffic violence. But yeah, it comes down to, like, you know, I used to tutor. I used to be a math and physics, an SAT high school tutor. And what you always found was, in many cases, the parents probably could have taught a lot of this stuff, but they found that, well, this was only for kind of more extreme cases. This wasn't that common, but kids were just kids. I mean, these are high school kids, so they were not that young, but these kids would listen to me, right? Because I was this third party, kind of, I'm not their parent, not their friend. I'm this other person that's sort of brought in specifically for this one purpose of teaching them. And so they'd listen to me in a way that they wouldn't listen to their parents. Like, do your homework. Fuck you, mom. You know, like that kind of, how kind of most high school kids probably are. And there was like value in that, and having a third party arbiter, I don't know, a third party person who was like unaffiliated, who had some status to just say, like, hey, I expect you to do this homework by next week, and it's for me, it's not for anyone else. And that's kind of what I expect, like, Uber to be. They should come into that relationship between the driver and the passenger and specify things like, hey, passenger, these are my expectations, these are our expectations, and here's why. And then to the driver, like, hey, these are our expectations. I mean, I think that's pretty clear for the driver's side. Like, they have a pretty heavy-handed rating system that's really tied to your income, and it's pretty intense, but it would be great if it was like educational for riders as well. So you can't just demand anything you want. In a sense, you have that because the drivers can rate the passengers and perhaps give some feedback and say this person was demanding and insane and wanted me to do 60 miles an hour next to a school at 9 in the morning when that's just way too dangerous and I'm not going to do that. And so that person gave me 2 stars and no tip, but I was just following the law. And like, okay, and then that passenger, I guess, gets a low rating. I don't really know what that does, but you know, gives some control. But then it's sort of between the two of them, you know, sort of battling it out, you versus the driver versus you. When maybe Uber and Lyft really ought to be stepping in and sort of evening out the field a little bit with educational components in the app and things like that, reminders, that sort of thing. Anyway, so we're cruising here. God, this well, I know it's, I don't want to, this 1-year-old was killed yesterday. Awful story. Sounds like a drunk driver speeding around, like trying to make a left turn or a right turn, right? And then, quote unquote, lost control. Lost control. Drivers don't lose control. That's like saying, I shot, you know, like somebody shot somebody and they lost control of their rifle by pressing the, you know, the trigger accidentally. It was an accident. Nothing is an accident if you're drunk, if you're reckless, if you're speeding, if you're taking a turn without looking. All of those things are predictable and preventable, which makes them the opposite of an accident. And it's so like nauseating seeing the kind of reporting that parrots this language from the cops and other, you know, and sort of just what has become standard language from these nincompoop journalists, these reporters who just parrot car lost control, car hits so-and-so. Car? As far as I could tell, the car was driven by a human, and the human, no problem, and the human is called a driver, right? We refer to humans who drive cars as drivers, and generally, as far as we know right now in New York, there are no autonomous vehicles operating. That would be news if there was. So a driver who was reckless, who was maybe drunk, probably, who was also arrested afterwards, who was speeding through a turn, sped through, couldn't stay on the pavement because he was recklessly driving, and then crashed his car into a child, a stroller that had a 1-year-old who was feeding, whose mom was feeding him, and killed and crushed this baby. Bullshit, you know? And then the mayor's response is, we will not sleep. He said, we will not rest until our streets are safe for children. We will not rest. Are you kidding me? With that kind of language? Look around. Look around at the pace of change in this city and the control and the bureaucracy that sort of gums everything up. There are projects that are multiple years old that would have saved countless lives. Maybe not lives, but injuries for sure. Tons and tons. These are all like established, well-known street improvements that do all kinds of things. Pedestrianization, just removing cars from various areas, slowing vehicles down with curbs and road diets, removing parking, obviously like adding all this protected bike lanes. We have tons of projects that go back 5 years that have not even been done. And he's like, we will not rest. Meanwhile, this nincompoop mayor is not even around. You know, he's not even here. He's running his presidential campaign in wherever. You know, it's just sad. The whole thing is just sort of a sad situation. Because it's obviously bullshit. It's obviously empty words. It's the equivalent, it's like the New York equivalent of thoughts and prayers for traffic violence. Oh, we will not rest until the streets are safe. Great. You know how many people got killed in the last week? 3 different people were killed. Actually, I can't even keep track because I don't even know. I don't even track this stuff anymore. I mean, not that I did, but it's just too depressing. But I mean, you had that 10-year-old boy who got killed waiting for a bus at a bus stop. You know? Super frustrating. Because this is not the federal government, you know? This is a city. You can maneuver around bureaucracy. You can figure something out if you care.
I love that sticker.
Hey, thanks, man. That's the sticker. So the war on cars. The war on cars taking new meaning because last night there was this stupid meeting by a bunch of nincompoops who are like, there's a war on cars because they're taking, first they take our parking spaces and next they take our gas stations. Oh my god. But it was nice to kind of, that was lighthearted, some good humor there, where a couple of you know, real advocates came out to cover the show. To cover the play-by-play with some tweets, and that was fun to read. Thomas was there. He was, I think, the first person to speak, so there's a picture of him. That was great. And I don't know, I mean, maybe we should just ignore these people, because like, why are we even wasting our time with them? If anything, we should just be having our own meetings, talk about, hey, what are we going to do about the 21 cyclists who've been killed this year that almost double last year? What are we doing about that? But it's nice that you know, a bunch of people were able to go and you know, rustle some feathers at this silly meeting by these idiots. Anyway, so what was I saying? Forgot what I was saying before, but oh yeah, that we're a city. Like, just look at, I think, a really good example of what a city can do. A city can control, maybe they can't control certain things, right? They may not be able to control the width of a certain street or the speed limit, you know, or something. I don't know. There are certain things I think that are really specific to the state, that are like guidelines and requirements by the state that have to go through the state versus the city, versus like federal standards, right? And so the greenway that we're currently on is actually owned and operated by the state. It's a state-run park. But once you get above 60th Street, it becomes city property. So that's why you see these ridiculous cattle, or whatever these things, the concrete Jersey barriers that create these like cattle chutes and make it really dangerous. But you only see them up until 60th Street. Like, it's important, but only up until 60th Street. Then when 60th turns to the city is like, yeah, we're good. We don't need to do that because that's insane. And so all the way up is sort of a different matter. And you saw this when the city expanded the speed camera program that was set to expire. And so for years, speed camera program, which basically put 140, I think, speed cameras near schools. They only operated during school hours. They were very specific, and only 140. And then the state, they needed like some state stuff to state approval or something to expand them. And then I forget exactly what happened, but the city was able to maneuver, the city council I think was able to maneuver around this stuff to keep it alive, and then kind of bridge it until the point at which they could vote as a state assembly, I think, to expand it. And then they expanded it to 700 cameras plus expanded hours from, I don't know, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or something like that, which, you know, is just like amazing. And those are the kinds of measures. But I think that what's interesting is the bridge component that sort of got it from basically being shut off to keeping this whole thing alive for several months until they could do this other stuff. So like, I just don't see how the city can't do similar kinds of projects for our streets. Just put down bike lanes, override the community boards and all that. Anyway, how's it going? Beautiful weather, huh? Yeah.
On my back.
What was it?
Got our back.
Yeah. Where are you heading?
I came up from the bridge.
Oh, okay. You're going.
167.
Oh, word. Yeah.
My daily commute.
Yeah. Oh, from the bridge, huh? Nice. Yeah. Cool. Enjoy. White van SUV. Wow. So this guy commutes down from GW Bridge. God, but he clips in. This is terrifying to me. Clipping in. Because I can just sort of jump off this bike. I mean, I don't think I would very well. It wouldn't look pretty, but at least I can. Moving slow. So this is just concrete on the left and right, right? So if you just imagine where the outside wheels of those cars are, and just said that's just concrete. Those are curbs. We're gonna make a curb really tight, like basically the width of a car. You would have cars going way slower through these, and they just generally wouldn't be parking on the bike lanes and things like that. But instead we have a free-for-all. I'm not sure if we have a concrete shortage or not. Heard that. Don't really know. Certainly appears to be that way, because no concrete has gone down like anywhere. And that's the kind of thing that you would put down where these buffers are. That's something like the city could totally do. 100% do. They could put bollards. They could put real bollards, not this crap. These things, just when you actually see, like here, oh yeah, we put some sandbags down. That's gonna stop. That's gonna stop this, you know, UPS truck. No. Have you seen how these things look after a few months? They're just like crushed. They're absolutely destroyed. You see them over where at 7th Avenue, where this guy's going, 27th and 26th and 7th. I love it. Look at this thing. This bike is just sort of chilling. Not even attached to anything, just chilling. This guy is taxi. That is not a lane, buddy. That's T746676. Oh, sorry. everybody's going. Here, this guy made himself a second lane and then just merged back into this single lane. And then I'm going to catch up with him again. Not that I'm racing or anything, but this like mindset is so toxic, right? The mindset of like, I'm gonna speed and get to this red light and I have to get through all this crap and it's all in my rear view. I need to go fast, fast, fast. That's literally what endangers tons of people. But the cyclists are a threat. Oh man, what is this, Montana? So this is like one of the most dangerous things to do. Okay, I mean, he's moving. Also dangerous, because look at this. He can't see me at all. He has no idea that there might be somebody coming up to the right of him. Okay, he's going straight. But he was just stopped back there. And the reason that makes it really dangerous is because he did a terrible job parking on this. So, A, it's illegal to even park there. But B, is the mixing zone. But B, he's a giant truck, so you can't see anything around him. You have no idea what's going on. He was all the way parked to the right, so leaving basically not enough gap for a human on a bicycle to like comfortably get through without being really unsafe. And then if you try to pass on the left, you've got a giant truck on the left, you know, in your way. So you have to clear this giant truck, and that's really dangerous. Woo! Windy. All right, well, that's it for me. Hope you enjoy this, my impassioned anti-mayor rant. But I really mean it. I think we can do way more and way less, you know, way more impactful ways with what we got. And I hope to see that soon. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. BikeTalk.NYC.